Hey everybody, I'm going to go over the answers in the Venn diagrams for homework number 12. This video is going to be just part A, and then I'll do part B and C in a separate video. This is the actual homework number 12 that Rod just posted on revised day 7, I believe. So the last videos were actually the answers for homework number 13. So you can watch those videos. The names are updated. It's homework 13 that Rod sent out the other day. And I think it still says homework 12 at the top, but those are actually the answers for homework number 13. But these are the current ones. So let's go ahead and go over, for the sake of space and time, I've already abbreviated everything and put it into standard form. If you have a question about the standard form on each of them, just shoot me an email and we'll get it worked out. Again, I don't promise that I don't make mistakes, so if you see anything that you can't work out, just shoot me an email. We'll figure it out together. I'll kind of highlight as I go along the premise indicators and conclusion indicators that I see so that you can kind of understand. Again, once you have your conclusion, major term, major premise is the one with major term in it. That's the one that goes on top. Hopefully I have everything right. So the first one, because and for are premise indicators, it follows that is a conclusion indicator. Let's go ahead. So these two, we have particular and universal. So let's do the universal first. No D or L. We're going to shade in that football shape there. Some D are not F. So the X goes over here. Some L are not F. So with the conclusion, we're looking for this information out of the 3-circle Venn diagram, an X somewhere in this space over here, and there's no X. So that one is invalid. Let's move on. Number 2, given that is a premise indicator and is the second premise indicator, and we may conclude that is the conclusion indicator. So let's go ahead and do this. Start with the premises. They're both universal, so we can go in order. No C or O. No O or Y. Those ones intersect. No Y or C is the conclusion, so we put that in a separate 2-circle Venn diagram. We're looking for this space right here, and it's partially filled in, but it's not entirely filled in. So if we don't have all of the information that it gives us, or that it's asking for in the conclusion, it's invalid. So we'll move on. Some N are F, some N are C, some C are F. See, that's number 3. So this one, the conclusion is the first sentence in the passage, and then it follows it with and for 2 reasons. First and second would be what follows. Those are the premises. All right. So some N are F. Both of these are particular statements, so we can just go ahead and do them in order. Some N are F, so we want an X somewhere in this area there, but because it's already crossed off, we're not sure which side it's on. So we're going to do that fence straddling X, telling us that we know there's an X in this area, but we don't know if it's on this side or it's on this side. So again, to establish validity, and we'll get to that, to establish validity, we need a standalone X in a specific area. So some N are C, another crossover here, fence straddling X, because we're looking for an X somewhere in this area. We don't know what side it's on. And then some C or F is the conclusion. Again, we know that there's an X in this football, we know that there's an X somewhere in this football, but it could be over here on the F side, and this one could be over here on the C side, so we don't know for sure. And if we don't know for sure, it is invalid. Okay, next one, number 4. Because is a premise indicator and is a premise indicator. So some politicians are not egoists. The first sentence, that's your conclusion. Let's go ahead. All start with the universal. All R are E. Some R are P. So this one we don't have to do a fence straddling X because some RRP is telling us that there's an X somewhere in that football right there. But since we've already crossed off this half, we know that nothing can exist there because we've eliminated that area. So we know that the X goes over here. And then some P are not E. So we're looking for an X on the left side here on the crescent moon. And there's no X. So that is also invalid. All right, number 5. And is a premise indicator. So is the conclusion indicator. So the first 2 sentences are premises, and then all dachshunds are yappy dogs is the conclusion. So let's go ahead. Both these are particular statements. Some S are Y. So we have a front straddling X there. Then some S are D. Another front straddling X. So just like we did in number 3. We know that there's an X somewhere in this football. We know that there's an X somewhere in this football, but we don't know which side. And then all D are Y. And that one's asking for shading, so we know pretty much right away that that one's invalid. All right, so next one, number 6. In as much as is a premise indicator. I know it sounds weird, but that's premise indicator, and would be the second premise indicator. It follows that is always a conclusion indicator. So the last sentence is the conclusion. So all S are P. All C are S. Whoa. And then our conclusion is all C are P. And so what the conclusion is asking for is shading in this entire crescent moon on the left. So we transfer that over to the 3-circled Venn diagram and see if that's information that it's giving to us. And indeed, that's all shaded off. Part of it is shaded off from the bottom here. It doesn't matter where. We have some extra shading. But as long as it's as long as it's telling us the information we're asking for, excuse me, the information that we're asking for in the conclusion, as long as it's giving us that, it can give us extra information. It's valid. Okay, number 7. Due to the fact that it's a premise indicator, and again is the second premise, what follows and is the second premise, and then the last sentence we conclude that what follows that is the conclusion. Okay, so all Y are O. We're going to eliminate all of the area in the Y circle that's not part of the O circle, saying that everything, if there's a Y that exists, it's also no. So it has to be in that area. All I are O. And then our conclusion, all I or Y, so we shade out and eliminate the area on the left. So we're looking for this whole crescent moon to be filled in. So we take that, transfer it to the third. Again, you guys don't have to do the little outline that I'm doing. I'm just doing that to highlight what I'm trying to look for. And you can see here, this is all, this top part is all shaded in, but this is all left open. So unless it's all of the information that we're asking for in the conclusion, it's invalid. And the last one in part A is, let's see, the hot dogs are delicious foods. As is a premise indicator and is a premise indicator. So in the absence of that, no hot dogs are delicious foods. The first sentence is the conclusion. All right, so no F or D. Shade out that football shaped area between the F and the D. Some H are F, so we're looking for a crossover between H and F, which, because we've shaded this part out already, the X has to go on this side of the football. And then no H or D is our conclusion. That's only giving us part of the shading, so that one is invalid. Next video will be part B and C. If you have any questions, shoot me an email.